Okay. Good evening, Brian and Scott. Okay,
Good evening.
calling the meeting to order at exactly 7:03. Is that correct? Okay,
Is it
yeah. Mhm.
7:02?
I have 7:03. Okay. What?
Well, I'll get there eventually.
Okay,
All right, so
okay, so roll call, Brian Allen, Sid Gold,
Here.
and Scott Margaritian. Thank you. Okay. So we have two initiatives now. Regarding virtual, and as of March the 1st, according to the emergency order passed by or proclamated by Gavin Newsom, that all public bodies are supposed to go back to in-person meeting or have a hybrid meeting status in place. And so, as you heard from Oscar, that the city council, which has these are the two resolutions, basically, to ask the state to allow neighborhood councils to have hybrid meetings or have virtual meetings. So right now they passed a motion that I don't know, you're not in favor of. I'm just wondering, if we should go along with city council. What I was thinking before I wrote this up is, what do you think about taking a vote at our next council meeting? See what
Sid, I think the councils are all going to weigh in on this one way or another.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem. I'm not trying to stop our council from weighing in on it.
Yeah.
But my position on it personally is the NC system was designed and intended to communicate with the public and get opinions and then pass opinions back and forth. What city council, we're all supposed to watch out for city council and the departments and pass that information on to our stakeholders and take our stakeholders' comments and pass them back to the city. Now, having said that, there's lots of people, I won't say lots of people, there are some vocal people who contend that having virtual meetings is increasing participation.
Yeah, Ralph's arrived. Just announcing Ralph Price.
Yeah, Ralph's here. I see him. He's got his hand up too.
Yeah. I see you. Unmute yourself, Ralph.
There I go.
Okay.
Welcome, Ralph.
Hello.
So we're talking about the governor's order to have meetings start March 1st for all government bodies.
All right, so let me finish here. My concern is that because we are supposed to communicate with the public and back and forth with the city, that the allegation that people are making that virtual meetings have increased participation, in my opinion, is completely false. The statement that was made at bank the other night where we have 50 people, which we did, and we only used to get 25 or 30 is completely wrong. You know, you've been to the meetings in person and you know that there's been 30, 40, 50 people in that meeting room, and we've had too many people for the chairs that are available. So I'm not in agreement with those kind of statements when they aren't really honest. But my biggest problem is the virtual meeting environment allows for, and our council does the same thing, allows for limiting communication with the public. Give them 1 minute, give them 2 minutes. Don't let them speak 2 or 3 times. Mute them so that they cannot open their mouth and say anything. these are not conditions which promotes participation. And as you've seen with our council, we have nearly nobody that comes to our meetings. And the only time anybody comes, which is generally true anyway, is when they have a specific issue that is important to them. So my position is we are doing ourselves a disservice. We're doing our community a disservice by forcing virtual meetings because people are not being allowed to participate. Even though they're allowed to join, they're not actually able to participate because you cannot make a succinct point in 1 minute. Yeah, I don't care who you are. You can't do it. So that's my position.
I hear you. But I think it's somebody I see in attendee. I'm trying to see who that is.
There are
No attendee.
4 people.
Okay.
That's just us. Yeah.
Okay. Ralph, do I have anything to say?
There, I unmute. I start the video. Okay, you got me now.
Okay.
I just wanted to introduce myself.
Yeah, so
So that-
let me read you the resolution of one of the city council. Be it resolved with concurrence of the mayor that by adoption of the resolution, the city of Los Angeles hereby includes in its 2023-24 state legislative program support for legislative action that would amend the Ralph Brown Act to allow local legal legislative bodies, including appointed boards, commissions, advisory boards, and neighborhood councils, to continue to conduct most meetings virtually in the absence of any special circumstances, subject to appropriate safeguards to ensure full and robust opportunities for public participation, including by persons who lack means of digital access. So that's the one resolution that I think they passed sort of a combination of that, asking the mayor and then going to the state. The problem is going to take a number of months. How do you feel about going back to in-person meetings, Ralph?
100% for.
And your
Yeah.
reasons for that are?
Better communication.
So you feel this method is not a good, it's a way for that we developed during the pandemic. Now that the pandemic is over, do you feel this is not adequate?
Well, it may be all right for some people, but maybe we need to have both. But person to person is the best communication. That's my feeling.
The request to allow what the city council did, the request to allow virtual meetings, it's already been agreed. Now it's a very complicated virtual meeting amendment 2449, but it does allow for hybrid meetings. You have to do it right, but the issue isn't with us. The issue is with the public. That's the biggest problem. And I think if we're talking about staying virtual, it's because people are scared for themselves. And I don't know, Ralph, I don't think you've had COVID. I've had it. Sid, have you had it?
I had it.
Yeah. So most people, and I mean most people, handle COVID fairly well. Some have had difficulties, but since the vaccination, they call them vaccinations. They're just I don't know what you want to call them. They're flu shots. But since those have been being taken, almost nobody goes to the hospital. The people in the hospital are people that are not getting vaccinated. So, and that's been confirmed a number of times for a number of doctors. So, and I'm not saying there aren't any exceptions, but the vast majority of people in the hospital are people that did not try to protect themselves with the shots. So I really have a problem running scared like this, because if we run scared, we're going to get nothing accomplished. It's just my personal feelings.
So I'm going to raise my hand. I'll take my hand down now. No, I'm not afraid of meetings. I think these sorts of meetings are much more convenient. You don't have to travel. You can do it from a comfortable place. And I think one should have the ability, let's say, to have in-person meetings and remote meetings, depending on the circumstances. You know, I have to go into work now. I was working remotely for 2.5 years. Okay. And the powers to be said we have to come back to the office. And so today it took me an hour and a half to get into work and an hour to get back. Okay. And I don't think I accomplished about what I did at home and what I did at work today. So from my standpoint, from my kind of job, I don't think coming into the office, I hear what you're saying, coming into a person, I never see anybody in the office. It's supposed to be for people have staggered things. I've seen 2 people today. So I really think that we should have the opportunity maybe to do both based on what the board feels that there should be.
Then go on, Ralph.
Well, to me, I mean, I've been in business, etc., and I find that most communication is best when there's one-to-one. You get some of the emotion of the people, you get some of the people coming forward, you get people, yes, some people interrupt you, but they do that anyhow in the meetings the way we have it right now. And you get cut off. I mean, you know, you have what I call a Chicago daily thing where somebody, he just shuts you off. But in a one-to-one meeting or in an actual meeting, you can interface with other people. You can say hello and you can say other things. And as long as you don't interrupt the meeting, you can talk to the person next to you. You can't do that on a meeting that we have here.
You know, Sid, if we were to be able to amend the SB 2449 to be a little less restrictive in making in-person meetings absolute, which is what it does, then I think, you know, while I don't agree with it, I would allow it. I wouldn't stand in the way, but I don't see that happening to any effective position. And I agree with Ralph 100%. Communication is best handled face to face, always. And when we go to the level of having it on a virtual basis, whereby we control what the other person is saying or can say, and on top of that, we don't let them see who the hell they're talking to. They can see the panelists if the panelists turn their camera on. Now, 2449 requires you to turn your camera on, but nobody in the audience, we don't know who we're talking to in the audience if we're not a panelist. We have no clue. And I don't think that's fair to do to a stakeholder, to have him talking to an anonymous audience. It doesn't make sense.
So do you have a recommendation for the board?
This is
My
a complicated
recommendation
issue.
was basically that we should petition the governor to hold off on implementing these changes until solutions are arrived at. Okay, that are appropriate.
Maybe. I think, to be honest with you, I would have to write up, if I was going to make a motion, I'd have to write up a scenario in which it identifies the changes that we would like to see, not just hold off, because I'm still very concerned, have been even when we had in-person meetings. I'm very concerned at the level in which we control the stakeholder. I don't think it's fair that we do that because it's our responsibility to communicate with them. So I think we need to go into much more depth as to what requirements we would like to see in order to go back to in-person meetings or stay virtual.
Well, I think, I understand what you're saying. I think I have a different point of view. I don't believe in town hall meetings for board meetings. I don't believe that it should be a free-for-all of people talking or whatever.
I agree with that. It's just that we're too restrictive.
Well,
I don't want to give people a half an hour to speak, but I also don't want to restrict them to 1 minute or 30 seconds.
May I make a comment? I believe in Robert's Rules of Order to conduct a meeting as a professional way. And we did that in the IEEE when we met at the 12th floor of the Department of Water and Power. We had hundreds of people there and we did things by the rules. And that was the only way you can do it. When you have a meeting, of 100 people or so, you can get communications if it's done in a proper manner. With a virtual here, you have no idea what's going on, to be blunt. I mean, I'm used to meetings, I was vice chair of a group that membership was 17,000. I was chair of a IEEE unit that we had in the valley here. We had 1,600 members. We normally had at meetings, we may have 25, 50 people. But they could express themselves much better in person than you could on a screen like this.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I just think you have to make a difference between a meeting and a board meeting. I think they're two. Town hall meeting, you want to hear people saying, and the people get up to speak, and you're not really coming to a decision. You want to hear what people have to say. To me, when we have a board meeting, we have an agenda that we want to accomplish thing. And I think following Robert's Rules of Order, we have to follow that. That often involves a time limit on how long we can speak and talk. That we have to learn to be a little more precise in our words and be more concise as well, rather than going on and on. So I can see, to me, the board meetings have to be run by Robert's Rules of Order. Nothing will be accomplished. As for a town hall meeting where you want to hear what people, everyone should have an opportunity to speak on an issue. That to me is a different agenda. So
I think I'm in complete disagreement, Sid. I agree that the town hall is not the venue that we want to work under. However, our charter is to communicate with the public, to hear what the public has to say. And if we limit them or eliminate them from their ability to communicate, we are not doing our job. The Brown Act.
Let me interrupt. Okay,
Yeah.
since we're here. They're on our agenda, that and they're allowed to speak. And I don't know where Robert's Rules of Order has for non-participants of a governing body, but you have to make some sort of rule. You can't give them unlimited time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
No, I agree with you. Unlimited time is not acceptable. However, a reasonable period of time is, and I don't consider 1 minute reasonable.
What's your concept of reasonable?
I think that a person should have at least 3 to 5 minutes to make a comment. If you make it that long, he can make one comment. If you make it 2 minutes, then I would say give him a chance for a rebuttal as well. Unfortunately, none of the people, I won't say none, but most of the people on the boards, and certainly many, if not all of the, or many, if not most of the participants and attendees, are not professional speakers. They're not professional advocates. They don't have a history of being able to make a comment in 1 minute. And And I think it's unfair to put them in that position. We do this because we can. We do this, we limit them because we're concerned about our time. And I think it's totally unfair to the stakeholders and the people that we're supposed to be supporting. You know, we go along every year, we talk about how we want to do what the public wants us to do, and we should be doing what the public wants, not what we want. And what do? We eliminate them from giving us their opinion. That just doesn't make any sense to me. We're being hypocritical, and we're not being concerned about the people that we're supposed to be supporting. Now, granted, we're not paid, and city council has to listen a little bit more than we have to, because they get $250,000 a year. But we still have the responsibility to support our stakeholders, and we're not doing it.
I think we can improve it, but again, maybe they're not trained to speak. There's a lot of people who I hear at all these meetings who are trained to speak, who still go on and on forever without getting to the point.
Yeah, but Sid,
and
giving
so
people
you-
less
and
than
if
5
you
minutes
have-
is
who's gonna
acceptable.
interrupt them? Unless there's a time limit.
There has to be a time limit. I agree with the time limit. I'm just saying, we got to get away from this 1 minute
5 minutes
stuff.
is a lot of time to make a point, I believe. That's a lot of time.
1 minute?
You're not giving a speech. You're gonna make a point.
No, I don't
That
know
makes a
anybody
lot of
that can
time.
do it, Sid. Sid, you can't do it. I can't do it. Glenn can't do it. Nobody can do it in 1 minute.
May I make a comment? I've done intercollegiate debating by the Oxford rules, and you have so many minutes to make a proponent, you have so many minutes to rebuttal, you have, and all this sort of very formally. And it takes a long time, but you do solve a point. I've spoke at in Sacramento, I've spoke at the water board, but each place has its rules, and you follow the rules. I mean, when I was assistant trial counsel and doing a court martial, I had to follow rules too. And it's the way it is. That's the world. But in each case, you want to communicate, and in each case, like when you're at Sacramento, you have the rules. You have so many minutes. You have blah blah blah. The same thing before the city council, at the water board. We used to have meetings at where we have meetings for good grief, I can't even think of the name of the place right now. Norwood building there, we would have meetings there. We've had meetings, water board meetings there. We had meetings where we introduced mayoral candidates. We had meetings there where we introduced the councilman. There were communication meetings, and you have a certain
The
format.
question is, can we communicate better at a person-to-person or virtual meeting or whatever? And how we get the public to interact with the board, which is the best way. That's what we're trying to solve here.
In my opinion, in person is the best way to communicate. But you also have to keep in mind that we can't just set up and say, well, our rule is going to be X, because we have to follow the Brown Act. And the Brown Act does require certain things be accomplished and be allowed. And we are infringing on the Brown Act. Many councils are infringing on the Brown Act every day.
Can you give me an example of how we've infringed on
The Brown Act requires that people be allowed to speak, and they shut them off. They don't allow them to speak. They say, well, we'll take 3 more, just like at Vank. Now, Vank doesn't follow Brown Act, but you can't say to 5 people that have their hands up, well, only 1 more can speak. That defeats the Brown Act. The Brown Act never allows for that. There's nothing in the Brown Act that says you can keep a person from speaking. Now, you can't.
Under Robert's rules, you can. Okay.
Yeah, but we don't. But Robert's rules does not supersede Brown Act, and that's what we're trying to do.
Unlimited speech. Okay, I don't think it says that.
I don't believe in an unlimited speech. So I
No, but
don't want to,
I've attended many meetings where I've heard unlimited speech and nothing is accomplished. And that's,
I agree. You can get into debates, and in a debate, we don't want to get into. We want to give people the opportunity to voice their opinion. And unfortunately, I don't agree that they can do it in 1 minute.
so
And
2 minutes. What's your number?
well,
What's the
our
magic
council
number?
has a habit of doing 2 minutes, and I find very seldom do we break that. So I'm not speaking for our council, I'm
Yeah.
speaking for the NC system. Many places in the NC system give only 1 minute, and in some cases, they give 30 seconds. It's not possible. It's just, it's
So
not
I'm trying to
fair.
think the number. What's,
It's not polite. It's not inviting participation. You know, somebody, you tell somebody, well, you have 30 seconds, unless they're goat puppet, they're gonna walk away.
well, I don't know, those neighborhood councils. City council cuts off debate, doesn't give you time, whatever.
Yeah, I know. And I don't agree with the way city council does it, but
No, neither do I. No,
uh,
so
you know,
let's get back to the virtual versus in person. Any thoughts about that? Do you want to not accept my proposal? That's fine. Then we would have no recommendation to make.
On each one of those, the operation depends on the venue that you have. And the person controlling the system. You don't have to be strict to the Robert's rules, but you have to be able to control the direction that somebody's going on so that they stay on the point. It takes a strong leadership to do that.
yeah, and that's one of the problems. And I'm not speaking about our council. I'm speaking about the NC system.
No, I've been to many meetings where people in charge do not follow, they let people talk, and that's good, but then you're running till midnight or whatever for a meeting. And,
If you're getting paid, I don't care if you work for 20, you're at a meeting for 24 hours. If you're volunteering like we do, you're unpaid, then you have to set some limits. And I agree
we're
with that.
volunteering, but we're elected or selected or whatever. So,
Yeah, but we're not paid. We're not paid to be abused. And if we were paid, we can be abused, but we're not. So we should have the ability to say enough's enough. But we also have to follow the rules that are laid down, and the city is more concerned about getting sued than they are about supporting the right thing. And that's why they allow for all this abuse is, you have to have certain reasons for shutting people off. And if you do it right, you can keep control. If you don't do it right, you get sued. So the city's concerned about that.
so let's get back to what we want to do as a committee.
Well, my position on this, just blatantly say very briefly, I think we should go back to in-person meetings. Unfortunately, the state is directing us in how we can do that and maintain any virtual environment. And unless we say we want to have SB 2449 amended to be changed in some way, I'm in favor of in-person meetings.
I'll second that.
So you want to give me that motion again?
I'll make it simple. I'm in
Okay.
favor, I would place a motion to consider going back to in-person meetings unless SB 2449 can be made more amenable to stakeholders.
I have a question on that.
Yeah,
What happens is meetings are sometimes called where by intent. It's a long ways from the public. And that way they're shutting people off just by where they have the meetings. We've had meetings at the school across the street from me, run by the head of the legislature, and it was done because they wanted to have legal meetings on landfills, etc., right where the problem is. On the other hand, you could have the same type of meeting at the Department of Water and Power downtown, etc. And who's going to be there? Well, very few people. Or you could have it in Sacramento, and we've had to fly, drive, etc., to Sacramento for a landfill meeting. So that's not really good communication.
Well, there's nothing in the Brown Act that states that you have to have meetings easily accessible. Only that you have to follow the guidelines established for handicap. They have to be able to get into the room easily, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as where the meeting is held, there is nothing in the Brown Act that dictates that you must make it in close proximity to any stakeholder. Nothing.
That's what you call strong government control.
Well, but that is government. I mean, the government doesn't allow the public to run the meetings. Government runs the meetings. If the public wants to participate, then they have to be willing to do that and meet that challenge, whatever it is.
I know. I mean, we've rented a bus to go downtown for some of the landfill meetings. And
So your motion is, let me go back to the motion. Motion to return to in-person meetings. Unless, what was that SB number again?
SB 2449.
Is amended to allow practical use of virtual or hybrid meetings.
Right.
Okay.
Now that can be elaborated on in discussion, but we'd have to identify the terms of 2449, and it's complicated. It's not easy. Whoever wrote this in Sacramento really was not in favor of virtual meetings. Now, I don't have a problem, Sid, with virtual meetings. I really don't.
Mhm.
I have a problem with the way they're conducted.
Okay. All right.
But I have a preference to in-person.
Okay, so that let's have a vote on that. All in favor?
of what?
Aye.
Okay, 2 ayes and all abstain.
Right.
That passes. Okay.
Favor of in person, yes.
You have a copy of the agenda. I told you my computer got screwed up here
The agenda,
because mine's all screwed up.
well, the agenda came out screwed up. Did you know that?
Yeah, I installed this new Word program so I could do a PDF, and it just took over my computer. There's nothing.
Well, the only thing you have on it at this point, let me see if
What are we talking about? Item 4?
we were just talking about item 4.
Yes, okay. It goes on and on.
What is item 5 is what? It's it doesn't say what it is. It's discussion and possible action regarding implementation of initiative ULA CF 23-0038.
Okay,
What is that?
that is the bond measure that passed on the last election to have a tax on sales over. So they have that is now a new bill in front of them, how to implement.
Is that the
spending
real
that
estate
money.
tax?
Hmm? It's a
Real estate sales tax?
Yeah. Mhm.
I don't know enough about it, but I think it's probably stupid.
So what
Okay, I
they're
think
doing,
they
they're doing,
just filed it, so I think we can wait till the next meeting. When I get
What
my
they're-
computer fixed or whatever.
may I comment? What that bill does is houses up to 5,000, or $5 million or so much tax, and those that are over $10 million as
It's really an attack on business, you know.
and it's a tag on, but it's not a fair tax, because now you're getting taxed by grouping people with what they have.
What do they want to do with the tax?
Well, they're supposed to be for low income housing for the homeless.
God.
It's called income equalization.
30,000 people left the state. There's 30,000 houses right there.
No,
There's more empty apartments than people living. Okay, that's
What does that say?
they're charging
it
too much
says
for
that we have people running a government who do not have an agenda that's compatible with a lot of people. But they get the votes, they win. So look, they created a whole homeless industry now. So what can I
Okay,
do?
I'll take a position and suggest that we take the position of no new taxes.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I
No,
don't
no
need,
taxes.
I don't need to make this happen, but I'm just giving you my opinion. I think
You're
that,
making a resolution.
you know, how many billions of dollars have we blown on homeless people who do not want the support?
Depends how you define blown.
Spent
Somebody's
And-
getting that money.
and absorbed by somebody
Somebody's
other
getting
than
that money,
homeless.
and it's not me, and it's not you, and it's not Ralph, but
I didn't get a
getting-
penny of it.
somebody's getting that money. And it's surely not the homeless. Okay,
It's purely, yeah.
okay.
All the committees that work with the homeless, it gives them a job.
No, they've created thousands of jobs. The homeless department, I think, in 2004 was about 10 people. I think
And,
it's
and
now.
not one person was homeless.
Anyway, so can you read me what's next on the agenda? I mean,
It's discussion and possible action regarding renewing MOU between neighborhood councils and
Okay.
Department of Water and Power.
okay, so every 5 years, and they're behind a year, we renew this memorandum of understanding with the Department of Water and Power that they'll meet with us monthly, and they'll give us a 90-day notice of any major change in their policy. And
Uh-huh.
so, and it's going to come to the Department of the Water and Power Commission on January 28th, 29th. So I think it would be nice if we approved the vote, sent a message to the DWP that we're supporting continuation of the memorandum of understanding.
Has there been any positive effect from that MOU?
I think the independent ratepayer advocate came from that, that we held off a tax big increase originally. They're discussing things, and they heard
It's
both
been-
sides, you know.
Has
I think-
anybody stopped a rate increase?
They've cut the rate increase, the amount it was supposed to be.
Well, you go to those meetings. I haven't been, so.
I think they're useful. I learn a lot about what's going on. And I realize that you know, the majority of the people who are the players in the DWP in the city are have a view about the environment. You know,
Yeah,
they're making all this noise today about how many gallons of water they saved from this rainfall. You know, they didn't say how much water went to the ocean that they didn't collect. You know, and,
well, I
and they're always
drove by,
talking about the snow melt, all this runoff from the mountains. You know, there's 15 feet of snow in Mammoth right now.
is there? Yeah.
The big problem that we have is we have many bonds to have made water storage facilities, and the government has been sitting on its duff, playing with permits and everything else, and we have not made the water storage system for 5 years that we have supposed to have. And so we let water run to the ocean because our government hasn't done a damn thing. But I
Well,
better,
they're doing something, you know, that they have a certain group of people that they support. All this water that's going to run off in Northern California to the ocean, there's no new reservoir. All the reservoirs in Northern California are up to the limit of water capacity right now.
Are they really?
Yeah. Mhm.
not really.
And all this water in the mountains up there is going to run over the tops of these reservoirs into the ocean. Okay.
Well, we have not bothered to try to fix the dam, Hanson Dam. If we fixed Hanson Dam, we'd have another area of another lake, but that would mean that a freeway would have to be moved. And unfortunately, we've started to use all that land. So I don't know. We just don't know how to support ourselves. We don't know how to do the right thing. Our forefathers in this state in the early 1900s saw this problem and they addressed it. Since then, we have failed to address anything with regards to providing our own water. And that's just stupid, absolutely stupid.
Well, you've got the environmentalists that tell us, oh, we have to let so much water go free to protect the salmon and to protect this and that. That's why I have not become a good supporter of this. Some of these wild environmentalists, because they're not rational. I mean, we have farmers that are losing their trees and everything else because we don't have water, and yet we're still dump water in the ocean that we should have provided for and saved.
The one commodity on this planet that we have plenty of, and we don't have any here. Stupid.
No, and I was just looking at what Israel's doing with desalination, you know, just.
San Diego's got a desalination project.
Well, so does Catalina.
So, let's get back to the topic. Who's in favor of continuing I make that resolution that we support continuing?
I'll second it.
Okay,
I'll second it
all in favor?
with a
All-
condition. Listen to
Okay,
the-
so,
I'll say
Pass.
aye.
okay. Ralph, your vote? Is
I
that an
will
aye?
say, but I would like to say somewhere that the people have to listen to us.
Well,
Good
yeah,
luck.
listen doesn't mean they hear us, you know, okay. But they, you know, why the mayor was allowed to, to change the California law. California was 2040 and it was not total getting away of fossil fuel. The mayor, God bless him, made it 2035 and everything was no fossil fuel. And he just passed the mandate, just like that, did it?
You realize it's not going to fly. It's never going to happen. Not until there is an alternative that provides the same benefit as we have today.
It's not gonna happen because they're gonna run out of money. Okay.
And what happens when they stop drilling for oil and we can't build anything that has plastic in it? What happens then?
Well,
Well, the
we'll have
environmentalists will
to maybe develop the pioneer spirit, okay? But
Then we're chopping down trees, and then the activists will say, "You're chopping down the forest."
did you
Well,
see what Wyoming passed?
no burning today.
Yeah, Wyoming went the other way around.
Did you
They
read about
banned
Wyoming?
electric vehicles.
They banned electric vehicles. Anyway, okay, so we're fair. What's next on the agenda? I really apologize.
What's next on the agenda is discussion and possible action to request the council member John Lee introduce a council file that each city department publicly name a representative liaison from the representative department to interact with neighborhood councils. That is never gonna happen. Good luck.
Well, it may never happen, but is it worth putting forward?
It's worth going forward. Yeah.
Okay, what do you think, Ralph?
I think it's a good idea. And I agree, the probability of it being success is not very high.
Yeah.
If we get enough people to support it, I'll push it at the Lank meeting. So,
Well, most of the departments do listen to the neighborhood councils. And the reason they do is because there's very few people asking them questions. But should the neighborhood councils actually do their job and communicate with the departments, this would be a disaster. But I'd say go forward.
okay, another disaster. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that passes. Okay, what's next?
Announcements from committee members.
Okay, Ralph, anything to announce?
Well, I think we have to have better, honest council members in the city. I mean, it's demonstrated that we're in a very bad situation with people that don't like to follow the rules. And we need to make it so that a fouled council member can be fired. Right now, they just say tough rock, I'm staying. And it's a disgrace.
I second everything you're saying. One problem that I have with all that is you're not going to be able to make a change. And I know we don't want to discuss this. I got it, but just my opinion is this will change when the Ethics Commission is the handcuffs are taken off of them and they're allowed to function independently.
I'll second that one.
Well, we can't, those are announcements. I'm on the Congress, I forget the planning or program committee. I'm gonna plan to say that one of the presentations at the Congress would be neighborhood councils, do a program introducing themselves to Congress members, telling them what they do, how to get involved, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one thing I'm gonna do. And then there was a motion passed this week to change all the gender names in all city documents
Oh, gosh.
to make them gender neutral. So they gave an example. The mayor made a proclamation and he did this, and they're going to change it. Just repeat the word mayor over and over again. Okay. So they won't have those pronouns in there.
So you can't use, I can't be a he, huh?
Not on a document from the, I don't know how far it goes, whether it's going forward or going backward. It doesn't, it just says, let the city attorney write an amendment, an ordinance regarding it.
Oh, I'll tell you what, as far as I'm concerned, fire me. I am not going to play this gender bullshit.
Mhm.
I told Raquel that, by the way. I told her, I said, if the issue is you have to identify the gender of the person, then I am not going to. I will refer to them by their name only.
So I have no other announcements. Anything
Me
else?
neither. No announcements, other
So what
than I
time
had
is
to
it
put my
now?
dog
We're
down.
adjourning the meeting at 8. I have 8:52. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the discussion. I know it's can be frustrating. I think the three of us are important voices. We represent another legacy in this country, and I think our voices should be heard. So
We represent the legacy that nobody pays attention to.
yeah, I'm turning off the microphone, so we're no longer recording.
But now we can't be sued.
No, I have 2 older sisters. Okay, And one, the God bless her, is 90. Her mind is very good, but she's always talking politics with me, and she's very unhappy. And she says, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm on my way out anyway. Okay, that's,
Yeah, I've said many times, I'm glad I am not 25 years old.
I'll
So,
say that too.
and I tell her, I may be older, but I'm not on my way out. I gotta go out shouting. So that's
Or
kicking
screaming.
and screaming.
that's
I
I'm
had
not-
two older sisters too, but they both died at 63.
Yeah, well, I have one. I'm the youngest of five. My two older brothers are passed away, unfortunately. But
Yeah, I have one younger brother. And it's just he and I. We're the only ones that are here.
so I understand how both my sisters are very conservative, and I have had a habit. So
Well, was your whole family conservative?
no, I come from a very liberal background. But somehow,
What happened?
I don't know. I've asked my children. Most of my children are conservative, and I said, "How come all your friends are liberal? What happened?" And he sort of blamed me, I guess.
Well, they came from intelligent stock.
And they all three of them went to Berkeley.
Oh, did they really? Well, I've heard many times that Berkeley was not really the liberal bastion that everybody thinks it is. It's got a very conservative background, but most people don't know that.
Well, one son was an engineer, and the other one was doing economics and bioengineering. So they weren't really in the liberal arts. Well, my daughter was in communications, and she's
Oh, that's liberal.
she's very conservative. But she has to keep quiet where she works. Okay.
Most of us have to temper our words from time to time.
Okay, so wish you all well. Happy
Yep.
New Year if I haven't
Same
said it.
here. Have a good evening and
And when's our board meeting?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah,
I should-
it'll be
I
interesting
tell
to
you,
see if we have
everything's
quorum.
screwed up. My email, everything. I was supposed to get more space. I've got less space at the cloud. I don't know what I did wrong.
Well, you can always hire some 25-year-old who can fix your computer.
I'm looking into it. Okay. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot.
All right.
See you
Talk
tomorrow.
with you. See you guys tomorrow.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Morning.
Good night.